Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining in. I've got with me former India wicketkeeper Saba Karim, who's also obviously now GM at BCCI. Welcome to the chat, Saba. Great to have you with us on this chat.
Thank you so much, Andresh. I look forward to this. Yeah, let's start.
Saba, you started off as a 15-year-old prodigy for Bihar in 82, 83. Uh, you started off very young. What do you remember most about that time?
Oh, well, I started off young because the same year I played for India under 19 as a 14-year-old youngster, and the team traveled all the way to West Indies. And in my batch, we had Maninder Singh, the former left arm spinner. He was the captain of the side. Then we had Chetan Sharma, who also went on to play for India. Then LS was there, Shiv Ramakrishnan was there. But I was the youngest in the side. And after my West Indies tour, I think it was 82 April, and I went back. When I came back to India, then my home state, which is Bihar, they showed a lot of keenness to introduce me at the first class level. And that is how I got into the team. Incidentally, I played for my zonal side before I played for my state team, which means that I played my East Zone the other trophy game, a one-day game, before I eventually made my Ranji Trophy debut. So it was kind of strange for me to play at the zonal level before I managed to play a first-class game. But it was very inspiring and a lot of learning for me at such a young age.
So by the time it is 1988, 89, you're already being spoken about as a possible India wicketkeeper. And India had been using Chandrakant Pandit and Kiran More alternatively in test matches and one dayers. So did it come as a surprise when you went on the West Indies tour as the second wicketkeeper?
Well, not a surprise, but made my debut at the Ranji Trophy in 82, 83. So I had played for about 5 to 6 years before I managed to break into the so-called reckoning of the Indian side. And we had a camp before the West Indies tour in '89. And in the camp, I felt very comfortable, felt at ease with all those seniors around. I learned a lot, but I thought that if I continue to do well, and I had backed up if I can back up my performance, I had a chance of getting into the side, and that's what eventually happened. So I was pretty excited to make my debut in '89. So I went all the way to the West Indies. I hardly played a game when I came back. So that was the story of my debut series in West Indies. But yes, it was a great experience going to West Indies. Played some first class matches, but to see these all those big stalwarts play the game was a different kind of feeling for me completely, Chandresh.
So when you came back, obviously you were left out of the side, and for 5, 6 years, Indian cricket had sort of moved on from you, and you went from playing for Bihar to play for Bengal, but you continued to play well. Why did you make that change from Bihar to Bengal?
Well, you see, I realized from '89 when I came back from my West Indies tour, I continued to play at the zonal level. So I think right from my debut from 82, 83 till the time I think I left cricket in 2000, I continued to play for my zonal side, which is East Zone. So that's what kept me going. And whenever I would play for my zone, be it at the Dirar Trophy level or be it at the other trophy level, I would always perform very well. And I felt that by the time I think it was 94, 95, I realized that being from Bihar at that point of time had its own distinct disadvantages. I was not given enough opportunity to showcase my talent. Although I was doing well at the zonal level, I was not being looked at by the selectors. It seemed to me that I was a forgotten cricketer because I was representing Bihar. Although I had some great performances at the zonal level, and I felt that I need to play for a state which can favorably look at my case for the Indian side. That's when I decided to shift from Bihar to Bengal. In fact, I was working with Tata Steel. That was a corporate giant, and I joined Tata Steel because of my cricket. And then that's when I requested my management to transfer me from Bihar to Bengal. And eventually it did happen in 94, 95 season.
And you had a number of India players in that because you had Chetan Sharma, yourself, Arun Lal, Ashok Malhotra. So all that experience would have come in handy when you were at
Yeah, I
Bengal.
felt very comfortable in Bengal, Chandresh, because the names you have taken right now, I had played with them at the zonal level on a regular basis. And I knew very well that while playing for Bihar and while playing for E Zone, I'd earned my respect. So I felt extremely at ease and very comfortable in the Bengal lineup. And the big change that I noticed from Bihar and Bengal was the amount of facility that was on offer while playing for Bengal. Abundance of cricket balls, great practice facilities, great club culture, and I learned a lot while playing for Bengal. Not only for Bengal but also while playing club cricket in Bengal. And so many of my seniors, Arun was there, Ashok Malhotra was there, along with some of my contemporaries like Utpal Chatterjee and Souravganguly and Snehashish Ganguly. We are a great bunch of cricketers to learn from each other.
When that call finally came in '96, the recall to go to South Africa, there were a couple of others as well in the team who were making a comeback, especially Robin Singh. Both of you went as young 21-year-old to West Indies in '89, and both of you made a comeback in the same season after 7 years. Do you sometimes compare notes with Robin about what did you guys do for 7 years?
I always tell him that he's the luckier one because way back in '89 he made his debut. He played for me, then he made his comeback before me. I think it was the Titans Cup or something like that before we went to South Africa, and he did very well in some of one of the those one day matches. So he had that advantage over me. But yes, in fact, before that, 94, 90, end of 95 season, I got a break to play for India A. And at my age, I think I was 29 or 30 at that point of time. That was a big break for me. And I thought, this is it. If I can do well for India A, that's the only way I can go forward and fulfill my dream of playing for my nation. So my performance at the India A side, not that I played too many matches, but at least I was considered to play for India A. And then along with my domestic performance, helped me to break into the Indian team once again, and I made a comeback after so many years. Yeah, but having someone like Robin around was a big help because both of us realized that we are in the same boat, and it was a tour in which we had to perform to remain at least in the side for years to come.
In your first one day, I just happened to see the footage very recently. You scored a
Mm.
55, came in at a very desperate time, and there must have been a lot of pressure coming out to bat that day. And how did you remember getting your call for that debut match? Because Mongia was the first choice wicketkeeper. What did you remember most about playing that first match?
Well, it all happened very suddenly, Chandresh. I was not supposed to play that one day game because Mongia was the first wicket keeper. And I believe he got injured in his thumb. But even then, he was kind of fit to play. But before the game started, Madan Lal, our coach, he came up to me and he said, "You are playing." I was not really prepared to make my one day debut on that day. But since I had carried all my stuff with me, I was able to quickly formulate ideas in my head, and I went on to play the first one day international game of my career. It helped that we fielded first, so I had enough time to prepare. And then when we went into bat, it was a tall score at that point of time. And when I went into bat, I had nothing to lose because I realized that because Mongia was the first wicket keeper, I would not get too many chances. So I felt I should go and play in the same manner that I would do at the domestic level. And I mean that is how I was able to score some runs. Along with I think Azhar was there when I walked into bat, and then the others came in and helped me to get that 50. But eventually we lost that game. So yeah, but felt felt happy, but at the same time disappointed that India lost the game.
And then in '97, you happened to go to West Indies again, and you were one of
Yeah.
the four survivors who were going after '89. This time, did you feel more uh, confident or more responsible while going to West Indies again? Because things had changed a lot since '89.
Yeah, but West Indies is kind of a second home for me, Chandresh. I've been there so many times. So '89 was my first tour, but before that, I've been to West Indies as an under-19 cricketer. So I kind of had a background of what to expect. I was kind of used to the kind of wickets which they would prepare in those days. So when I traveled again in '96, I only played the one day, but I knew what kind of wickets to expect, and I was mentally prepared to play those one day matches because before that on the South African tour, I had played all the one day games, so I had kind of mentally prepared myself to play the one day matches. So yeah, but the fact remains that we played I think five one day matches in West Indies in different venues. but it was a good experience because we came very close to winning that one day series, except for that one game which we lost to St. Vincent. Otherwise, we would have won the one day series. So that was a big improvement on our performance in West Indies after such a long time.
That year, '97, they used you mostly in one dayers, and in Sharjah they made you open, bat at number three. What was going on at that time? Because you were not being used in the way that you could have been used that year.
I think now I look back and I feel that the Indian side or the Indian team management or the Indian coaching staff, they were toying around with with somehow trying to find a system that can work. We were not a very strong side. We were very potentially a very strong side, but we were still searching for our bearings. That was a period when a lot of youngsters have come in. Saurav and Rahul Dravid, Anil and Srinath were around, um, but very little experience. They had made Sachin the captain, so he also wanted to make an impact at that point of time. So he was also looking at the right kind of combination. That's why we had Robin Singh to back us up as an all-rounder. So we were, I think, at that point of time, it was all learning for us, and we were all trying to figure out, what is the best possible method to win one-day matches on a regular basis against strong sides. So that is why I felt, now I look back and I can understand why. They also tried with me as a wicket-keeper who can open the innings. In some matches I did well, and again I was pushed down the order because some other regular opener came in. So they were still trying to figure out, what the best possible way of winning matches in different conditions and in contrasting styles, so to speak.
Then there's a change in captaincy, and you're left out of the side again. And there was almost a recall during the '99 World Cup, if I'm not mistaken, when Mongia got injured. You were in Singapore doing some studio
Yeah,
work with ESPN, and there was almost a
yeah.
recall possible for the World Cup. Am I right?
Yes, Chandresh, you're absolutely right. But before that, another story behind this, because when I was dropped after the Sharjah tour, I wasn't expecting it at all, because I had performed reasonably well, and I remember some of the papers had written about three, four players, senior players being axed, and my name was never there, because I had done even for my own liking, I'd done quite well with limited chances I had got. That came as a big surprise when there was huge number of changes in the side, and I was thrown out of the side. So then I had to go back to domestic crickets, started to do well again on domestic level, and this was the break I got once my domestic cricket was over, season was over, and there was no cricket happening in summer of '99 when the World Cup took place in England, and I was up in Singapore doing commentary for the first time in Hindi for ESPN. Yes, for ESPN, and that's when I got a call from Jimmy Divatkar was. In BCCI. He was a manager, I think, or something of that kind. And I got a call from him. He asked me, "What am I doing?" I said, "I'm doing commentary in Singapore." I said, "You better get ready. You may have to go to England to replace Nayan Mongia because he's injured. I think he has injured his hand or something like that." I said, "Okay. I mean, you let me know." So he sent me all the papers from BCCI office, and I applied for the visa in Singapore. I arranged to get all my stuff from Calcutta. I was based out of Calcutta then. So I got my visa through. I was all set and ready to go. So then Jimmy called me and he told me that, "Why don't you speak with Brijesh Patel, who happened to be the manager of the Indian side?" So I called Brijesh. I said, "Wait for a couple of days and I'll get back to you." That call never came. And next game when India played, I could see Nayan Mongia was back in the playing 11. So I could understand that one opportunity I had that was lost because of lack of communication, I feel.
Now, do
And
you needle
obviously, Mongi got well.
do you needle Brijesh about not calling you back?
No, but it wasn't his fault at all. I
So
think eventually
now,
they also want to have a settled side, and
okay.
they somehow managed to get Mongia back on his feet.
So now in 2000, there's again change in captaincy, and you're back. Did you expect that recall when Saurav became one-day captain?
Chandresh, not really. Because I realized that, well, how do I put this across now? I was doing consistently well for Bengal and also for East Zone. In fact, if I remember correctly, I was the captain of the East Zone side, and we'd done fairly well. And this was the time when we were busy playing the Ranji Trophy, and I had got some big runs and at that time. but I was really not looking at making a comeback because they had Samir Dege who was playing at that point of time, who had just been inducted in the side. So I felt I'm sure the selectors would like to give him some more chances, some more opportunities. So it really came as a shock to me. But you know what? This time I was more prepared, in the sense that I had matured. I knew how to perform, what to do on the field, and I had a lot of experience of playing with some of the senior players. Also, I had some interaction with some of my contemporaries who had become such great players like Rahul Dravid and VVS and Saurav, and so I knew what they expected from me. They expected an experienced hand behind the stumps and who can also build them out, at number seven, number eight, as whenever there's an opportunity. So I knew what was expected from me. So I was much better prepared this time around when I got a recall.
And that comeback went off well because you did well in the series against South Africa. We won that series 3-2. Then we went to Sharjah.
Yeah.
So that comeback went off well.
Yeah, it was pleasing to make a comeback to the Indian side after another gap of I think 3 to 4 years. And as I think I mentioned it before, but this time I could sense the change in the dressing room. The dressing room had far more experienced players. There was I think because of people like Saurav Ganguly and Rahul Dravid and Sachin and Srinath and Anil Kumble, they were big forces there in the Indian side, and they made you feel very comfortable. So I never felt like an outsider when I made a comeback to the Indian side. And this Indian side knew how to win, and they had their urge, they had their energy, they had their intensity to win against strong sides. It felt good to be part of that kind of a setup, and there was a very good system going around. People were explaining the kind of profiles they had, what was expected from them. Sort of actually led from the front. He was one of the few captains, I think maybe one of the first captain I have noticed, who would on your face tell you what went wrong in your skill, or why didn't you perform well, what was expected from you. That was such a refreshing change in this kind of a setup. So yeah, it was good to get back in the side on a winning note. We beat South Africa, but when we went to Sharjah, we didn't do very well. So we were quite disappointed by our performance in Sharjah. But then the Asia Cup came up, and we were all very confident that we'll do well in the Asia Cup. And unfortunately, things
So yeah,
changed in the Asia Cup.
do you still remember that day and when the bail hit you in your eye? Was that the bail or was it the ball? Can you
It
clarify?
was actually the ball, Chandresh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
It,
do you still remember what happened and how you felt that day when it all changed for you?
yeah, I remember very well because this is the first game in the Asia Cup, and we're playing against Bangladesh, which is not a very strong side. And I remember, in the pre-match match team meeting, I was kind of told by Saurav that I may have to open in this match. So I was kind of prepared even for that. Now I don't remember whether we won the toss or we lost the toss, but we fielded first. It was very muggy and very humid day, and I was not wearing a helmet. And I think Bangladesh got off to a good start. They were. I don't remember the first. I think Anil Kumble when he came on to bowl, I think it was his first or his second over. And as usual, whenever Anil would come up to bowl, even with the new ball, I would always stand up to him. And it happened very quickly. I really had no time to react because the opening batsman of Bangladesh was this gentleman named Javed, who incidentally now looks after the Bangladesh women national side. He's the cricket operations chief for the women's side. I met him in this ping ball test match. So he tried to play the delivery from Anil Kumble on the onside, and while doing so, he shuffled. So he actually covered my vision, and then the ball came and hit the flap of his right pad. And before I could react, it came and hit my right eye. I really had no time to react. That's how it all happened. No fault of Anil Kumble, no fault of the batsman. It's just that being a one day game, he actually wanted to play the ball on the onside. It was too quick for him to actually play it properly. It missed the bat. The ball hit the flap of the pad, the right pad, and came and hit me on my right eye. Yeah.
Did you feel at that time that things would end so quickly because of that particular ball?
Not really, Chandresh. In fact, it was like a hammer blow to me. I fell down. Then Andrew was the physio. Andrew and some of my excuse me, some of my colleagues, they came to the ground, and I walked to the pavilion. And then Andrew put some bandage on my right eye. And then after 5 minutes, he said, "Okay, can you open your eye?" So I opened my right eye, and I could see perfectly well. So Andrew looked at me and said, "Can you see?" I said, "Yeah, I can see." I said, "Are you sure you can see with the right eye?" So he said, "What do you mean?" He said, "No, no, no. You do one thing. You shut your left eye and then try and see from your right eye." So when I shut my left eye and I tried to see from my right eye, I could see nothing. It was completely blank, dark. That's when I got scared. I said, "Oh God, this seems to be serious." And even Andrew felt so. He said, "We need to take you to the hospital. We want to see the condition of your right eye." That's how then it all started.
And you came back to India. Did you have any operation on the right hand?
Oh, later, Chandresh. I came back next day in the morning. Overnight, I was there in the hospital in Bangladesh. They had bandaged both my eyes so that my right eye also is not affected. My good eye is not affected. Next morning, I took a flight, came back to Calcutta. I met an ophthalmologist in Calcutta, Dr. Nandini Ray, and my company, which is Tata Steel, they came in very handy. They said, the right place to try to go to for such kind of injury is the Shankar Netralaya in Chennai. The same evening, I flew to Chennai. I got an appointment with Shankar Netralaya, and I was there for almost a month. So eventually, with my kind of injury, the eye pressure goes up. So after I think about 10 days, I had a surgery for my eye pressure, and that's the only surgery I had because my injury is very unique. This is a blow on the macula, and macula is the area from where you generally focus, and that is something which cannot be repaired. You can change the lens. You can change. I mean, you can do the surgery on the retina. You can have a glaucoma surgery to ease your eye pressure, but nothing can be done to replace your macula. Um, so that's what happened in my case. So when I was injured, when I went to Shankar Netralaya, my eyesight was 6 by 6, which is basically hardly anything. It eventually went up with some medicine. I took a lot of steroids. It went up to 636, maybe a little bit more, yeah, but I kept struggling.
And when you were called up to make your test debut again in Bangladesh,
Yeah,
what was
yeah.
that feeling like when you made that test debut? Did you still have problems sighting the ball?
Oh yeah, I had some major problems then. But I had started to get back to playing cricket because I started to use contact lenses, and because of contacts, my eyesight had went up. In fact, it went up to 6 by 48, I think. That's what the doctors told me. And he said, if you think you can manage with this kind of eyesight, please go ahead and play. So I came back to Calcutta. I practiced. I played some matches. I wasn't feeling so comfortable, but I came to Mumbai and played timesheet for Tata Sports Club, and that's when my name came up for the Bangladesh Test match. And I felt I consulted some of my colleagues and I said, if I have to play Test cricket, which was my ultimate ambition, I have to go ahead and do this because by then I had realized that my eyesight may deteriorate further. That's the only opportunity I had to play Test match cricket. And in retrospect, I say this to all my friends. That's the only time I feel I've been dishonest in my life towards the game. I wasn't 100% fit, but I realized that I to fulfill my ambition, I need to play a test match. And I also felt at the back of my mind it was only against Bangladesh. Even if my muff, couple of chances here and there doesn't matter. At least I'll get to play a test match. So I went ahead with it. Excuse
And
me.
when you came back, did you realize that your India career would be over?
Yeah, well, while playing the first test match in my career, Chandresh, I had decided then that I am not going to continue like this because I don't know whether you recollect or not. I remember keeping wickets to Srinath, and that's one of the few times that I felt scared in my life. Couple of balls I was not able to collect properly. It hit me straight in my chest, and Sri was quick in those days. Against spinners, I didn't have too much of an issue, but pace bowlers, I had some major issues. Depth perception was a big thing. Judging the speed was a big issue. Batting also, I could manage barely. The way I got out also in that game was quite strange. It was a full toss delivery of a right arm off spinner. I missed it completely. I dragged my right foot out of the crease, and it hit the keeper's pad and ricocheted onto the stumps. That is how I was out stumped. Um, in fact, but I didn't miss any chances. In fact, I had I think two or three victims, all caught behind two seamers. But even in that game, I really struggled. That's when I realized that this is it. I'll try and go back to first class cricket, see if my eyesight improves. Only then I'll stake a claim for the Indian side again. But I could figure out at the back of my mind because I was consulting my doctors on a regular basis, and they had also told me the same story. They had, in fact, kind of painted the canvas for me.
So was it difficult or easy to tell Saurabh? Because he had a lot of faith in you at that time.
Um, it was well, I think it was difficult for me to go up to him and tell him because I realized that in his own way he wanted me to be in the side because we have played together in the past. He felt that I can provide that kind of input to the side. I can play an important role in the way he was visualizing in his mind to build a side. So in that sense, I felt slightly disappointed when I broke the news to him, and it happened immediately after the Test match. I went up to him and I told him because that's the time when they were selecting the team for the Zimbabwe Test match at home. So I said, Saurav, I cannot do this. I really struggle in this Test match, and I think I'll go back to first class cricket and try and see about my eyesight, and then we will see. In fact, he persuaded me that why don't you give it a try? But I remember very well that I told him, I said, no, I can't play like this.
And retiring from all forms of cricket, did that come easy after 20 years?
Well, one can say so, Chandresh. As I told you before, I went back to play one more season of Ranji Trophy cricket, and I managed to get some runs also. I think I scored 40 or 50, something of that sort. But my eyesight had started to deteriorate further, and but I knew even at that point of time that if I wanted, I could have played for another 2 years of Ranji Trophy cricket, 2 or 3 years of Ranji Trophy cricket with my kind of fitness and with my kind of eyesight. But I felt that there's no point in pursuing a cricket career like that because I realized then that I cannot make a comeback into the Indian side. Now, for me to play for India was the ultimate goal, and the day I realized I cannot make a comeback into the Indian side, that's when I decided to hang up my boots. So yeah, I consulted my family, my friends, and I was very comfortable when I decided to say bye to first class cricket also.
And how's your eyesight now? Are you? Is it still? Does it still bother
No,
you?
it's the same old story, Chandresh. I can't see with my right eye. So I can see a little bit in the periphery, but very hazy. But because of the macula being injured, I can't focus on any object. So I use my good eye,
Okay.
which is left eye, and God has been very kind. I mean, people don't realize it, but one good eye is really good enough to lead a normal life.
And you slid very easily into the other side of cricket, being a commentator, selector, and now with the BCCI.
Yeah,
Was that a natural progression for you?
I think so, Chandresh, because I retired in 2000, and for 2 years I worked pretty hard in Tata Steel. I was based in Calcutta. I was with the corporate communications department. So I worked in Tata Steel. But now I look back and I feel that there was no challenge for me while working for Tata Steel in that capacity. So I was always looking for some more opportunity to explore my ability as a commentator. And because I've had some past experience of doing commentary in Hindi as also in English, and I felt this is one area where I can explore further. So I got a big break when in 2003 I was invited by Aaj Tak to be an expert analyst for the Hindi channel and also the English channel. Headlines Today had just started for the 2003 World Cup, and that's how my broadcasting career kick-started.
And now, finally, you played 20 years of domestic cricket. Now you have the most difficult task of ensuring that domestic cricket takes place in India properly. Is it a way of giving back to the game? Something that you played a lot of domestic cricket. So is it a way of sort of putting back the same thing that you experienced all those 20 years back into the game?
Yeah, one can say so, Chandresh, because I have loads of experience of playing domestic cricket and I've seen the changes that has taken place. So the reason why I joined BCCI in this capacity is to make a difference for first-class cricketers in terms of infrastructure, in terms of competition, in terms of number of matches, in terms of more exposure, not only for domestic cricketers but also for under 19s, the women cricketers. India A, because the potential is immense and there is so much we can do. And I felt that the kind of um, organization BCI is, we can offer so many opportunities to all our young cricketers, and that is why we set a we set up plans that can eventually help Indian cricket to grow.
And just one last thing, as a selector as well, you played a very key role. You were part of a panel which managed the transition of Indian
Yeah.
cricket very well. How was that experience?
Oh, it was brilliant, Chandrich. We had a great time. 4 years, we spent a lot of time watching these players in action. We had some great communication with the team management. MS was the captain then. We had Duncan as a coach. So all of us were on the same platform. I had some great colleagues with me as well. Sandy was the chairman. Vikram was my colleague. Roger Binney was there. Rajinder Paji was there. Yeah, we all of us, worked very hard to see to it that the transition is very smooth. We got immense support from the captain and the team management, and we could figure out the number of youngsters whom we felt should be given an opportunity. And also because we've seen not a lot of domestic cricket, so we really backed them to come good at the international level. So very glad to see the transition that took place. And I think the best part of our term was when he won the Champions Trophy in England 2013.
Thanks a lot, Sabah. Keep continuing your work and all the best for the future endeavors.
Thank you so much, Andrej. Wonderful chatting with you. And say hi to all my
Great.
fans. All right.